So I thought, considering we're into the Christmas season now, I'm going to give you a little treat with this video, and I'm just going to do a quick mini playthrough and just take you through what I would do at the start of an Ark game, as I'm sure some of you are just going to be starting, or you're still a beginner yourself and you want to know some tips on what to do. So here's my goofy character. We're just going to get straight into it. You could already see I've picked up a rock, and it doesn't really matter what map you do this on, but obviously I'm doing this on Lost Island, but any map that has a beach really will be fine. This doesn't really apply as much to Scorched, but start by finding a rock and finding a tree and merely punching it. Then once you've got enough thatch and wood, go into your crafting menu and craft yourself a pickaxe. I'd say in the early stages of the game, pump that weight stat and we can unlock the hatchet and the spear. We can unlock the campfire in a little bit. It will be time until night falls. I'm going to get rid of all these skins. I'm sorry people who like the skins, not for me. We've got another level as well, so pump it into weight on top of that, and actually I will unlock the campfire and then the shirt, the pants and the hat once we have enough levels for that, but we don't at the moment. And then just whack another tree down. Obviously I've got increased rates for this just to sort of speed up the process. If you don't have these rates, then just take your time with this. There's no rush really, especially if you're playing single player. You can do this as quickly or as slowly as you want. I'm going to make the spear and the hatchet and the campfire. The campfire will be useful later when we've got meat, and another level is going to go into weight. Boots and gloves I'm going to not unlock for the time being. Thatch we don't have to worry about, but I will get a storage box. The reason why I say boots and gloves aren't worth it yet, I'll chuck another one into weight, is because they need hide, and we're not going to have hide for a little bit, so we'll refrain from that. I'm just going to pick some bushes now because we want fiber to make that gear. Essentially we're just making a little roster to start with until we have a high enough level for things like bowlers and bows, etc. We'll want to get to at least the level for a bow. That would be ideal really, and then we can kill some things, get some hide, make a bowler, and we're already on top of a lot of things. So hat, pants, shirt, if I'd actually click it, and I'll make some spears as well. Usually try and make 3. And now the mortar and pestle is going to be useful for later obviously, although we're not going into detail in this video. And unlock the narcotics as well. I think that's a good general. Sleeping bag's good because we're going to be unlocking the bed later. Spears always go on slot 3 for me. So now we have some basic defense, some armor as you can see, and basic tools, which is going to prove very useful of course. And we now need to get to the level of the bow, and if you look down you can see bows at level 10, so we need to get to level 10. And essentially what we're going to do is just keep gathering stuff. The torch is another good thing on the list, although yeah, gamma commands and things exist. Yeah, if you want to get a torch, get a torch. They're also really useful against Trudons as well, and insect attacks, especially if you're playing Genesis Part 1 and you're on the bog biome. Get this torch out. And as always, if you're in the night and you want to get fiber, you can pick berries while holding a torch, which is great if you want light. If you didn't know that, that is a very useful tip. And essentially now what we need to do is just get levels, and there's a good way of doing this in the early game because fiber is such an easy resource to gather really. All you need to do is just go around and pick some bushes, if the bush would actually let me pick the bush. And then what we're going to do is we're going to craft some cloth hats. Explorer note runs are great as well, but it does take time to learn where all those are, and you might have to follow yet another tutorial on where all those are, and you could get yourself killed and stuff looking around for all of it. So just pick some bushes until you've got a reasonable amount of fiber. We don't need too many levels. And how many hats can we make? 63. I'm not going to bore you through 63. I'll just make 10 of them. Hats are just sort of, they're really cheap compared to all the other gear, only being 10 fiber each, and then from that you can get what's necessary for your levels, of course. Spyglass as well, useful later on. We can dump all these hats out afterwards. Obviously you're not going to be able to run while you're doing this, which is a little bit annoying, and it does sort of hinder potentially, but I think it's alright, and you know, for the levels it's worth it, and we might need some more. So I'll come back once we reach level 10, because all I'm going to be doing is crafting hats. Right, so that's all the hats crafted. I can just to end that, you can just search hat in your crafting menu. That's a little bit of a shame. We'll drop our thatch as well, but okay, I'll just drop all of it, put another level into weight. By the time you get to level 10, you can start putting some levels into some other things. That's not what I care about at the moment, Windows. It's fine that I have low disk space on my C drive. Either way, where were we? So we're going to unlock the bow. Unlock the bed as well. That's very useful. The club will be great. The bowler, the bow. And we don't have enough for the arrow, so we will need another level. But that's fine. We can craft the bow. It's just wood and fiber. It's not all that bad. And we can craft the club as well. Again, wood and fiber. So if you're spending all this time gathering fiber and crafting hats, it is going to prove you very nicely. Number 5 for me is always the meat slot, so I'm going to avoid that. I'm just going to chuck the club in there. And I'm just going to pick some more bushes because I think it will tip me over the edge for the level. Again, you can craft more hats as well, but because my rates are perhaps a little bit obscene for XP, I can just pick bushes and level up pretty quickly. So I'm just going to do that and get myself another level, and then I can start making some arrows, which will be nice. Right, we're almost there at this point. It sometimes does get pretty monotonous in the early game getting all of this, and we're going to put a level into health now because we're above level 10. Then we'll get a stone arrow there. How many arrows can we make? 2, and it's the flint that's the issue for us, but I'm going to get a little bit more thatch. Thatch, obviously, or not obviously if you don't know it, is best harvested with a pick. Then the hatchet's better for wood and stone. We're getting flint here, so obviously we're using the pick for that. That's just the general basis as well. For metal, as you can see on the side, we're getting a bit of metal. The pick is also better for that than the hatchet. The pick is better for meat. The hatchet is better for hide as well. Some useful things. Right, we can craft 100 arrows. Again, the rates are a little bit obscene on this, I know. If you feel like you're not getting the speed on this, don't worry. My rates are a little bit obscene. I wouldn't usually play like this. It's just for demonstrational purposes. My levels are also obscene on here as well. So I think it's slightly more warranted. I go up to level 1500. I did this a while ago and I haven't updated it. But, you know. Now, we've got these arrows. We have a way that we can fight. A lot of people as well would get the slingshot and do some taming with the slingshot, but that's not really what I like to do. I prefer the club and a bowler, and at this stage, hide is the resource which you want. That's the resource in which we're going to progress with. Now, right now that we've got all those arrows crafted, we can go through. You ever notice as well, if you've got your FOV on the highest setting, your arms like sort of glitch out through the thing? That's great, isn't it? Still never has been fixed. Right, we have a dilo here. This is a good target, but you do have to be wary and careful of them. So I would be careful. And if they start spitting at you, which they might do, you also got to be wary of your speed. If they spit, just try and sort of strafe side to side. Oh my god, there's 2 of them. Right, if there's 2, it's fine. You can stand your ground as long as you can keep up your stamina. You should be alright, and sort of go around them, go between them, and sort of do your best to keep fighting these things. I think that thing's an obscene level, isn't it? But just basically try and not let them hit you. If you go into the water deep enough as well, they will de-aggro if you're on a beach. So if you do need a quick way out, that can be a nice, neat way of escaping. Now, to be honest, considering the level of these things, it's going to take a while to do these. So I'll do a little time lapse for you, and you can see me kill off these dinos because it is going to take a little bit. Right, and just like that, they're dead. I got hit once, and you could probably see how much damage it was doing. We're going to use the hatchet for hide, of course. Level 550, level 250. A little bit brutal, and my bow broke as well. You've always got to be cautious from that. But we got 7 levels, and I'm going to just chuck most of them to health. I'll put 1 into stamina. Then we'll unlock the gloves and the boots from that, and then, you know, we can keep going further on. Cementing paste is going to be useful, and obviously all the hide gear is going to be useful when we get into that. Large storage box is good as well. The raft offers quite a lot of good transport looking further on. We're not going to be looking to tame a raptor in this video, but it is a good milestone to set yourself, and a preserving bin is a nice one as well. As always, you can unlock this wood stuff as well, because we are going to do some basing. So unlock your wooden stuff too. And I just defecated. How lovely. So what we're going to want first initially is just a bed. We can just make 1. That'll be fine. Now in terms of armor, we'll just keep with the normal cloth, and we'll make some gloves and some boots. We don't want to use it all up too soon. Then bowlers, we can only make 1. I'm starving at the moment, which is great. I don't know why I can only make 1. Oh, it's because we don't have enough thatch. I'm just going to temporarily eat some berries just to keep my hunger along. There we go. Right, we've got the extra things. Bowler can go on slot 8, and I'll get some thatch up. I have no idea why I'm so damaged after this. I don't know. I have no reason to be. Really. I know the dino hit me, but that's lower than my health was originally. Either way, that's fine. We'll make a few more bowlers, and we can leave that as that. And at this stage, you've killed some things, and you've got, obviously, some hide, which is useful. And you've got yourself some bowlers now, which offers you a lot of protection. You can use the spears as well, and they can be quite effective on dinos, especially if you've got, like, usual levels. I also just want to see these dodos here, what levels they are. They're all sort of ridiculous. I'm not going to spend time killing them. Also, these turtle things, they may look deadly, but as long as you don't hit them, they're not going to hit you. Don't know why I pulled the torch out there. But they're good for getting keratin if you do need keratin. But either way, we're going to look to make a base now. And obviously, that's loads of wood and stuff. And for this, we're going to need quite a lot of wood. And this is partly why, you know, I've said level your weight up quite a lot in the early stages. You may find you'll need to level your weight up again on top of that. You can already see I'm encumbered pretty much. So I am going to chuck another level into weight. As always, you can declutter your inventory and get some stuff out of it, and it will help. For foundations, 4 is a good, reasonable size I'd set myself at this stage of the game. You can see we've got another level, and hopefully we can unlock if I actually go the right way. Smithy and metal stuff is good as well, but we need to focus on the stone stuff, and for that we're going to need ceiling, door frame, and a door, and a ramp is useful as well. On top of that, spikes are good, but they're going to take up too much hide, so we won't put any of them in today. And then metal picks and hatchets will be our next thing. We're not going into metal again today. I can make a part 2 if you want me to make a part 2 of just what you should do in your next 20 minutes of Ark, or however, whatever I'm going to call it. But either way, we've got 4 foundations down. You'll see they weigh less than just the wood itself in your inventory. And you've got to decide a good place to put it. If you're on PvE, it doesn't really make a difference where you put it. You can just put it somewhere that's nice. And also, for the beginning, I think somewhere that's safe. It doesn't have to be your permanent base. I'm just going to chuck them down here for the sake of convenience. Always switch them to block. At least in my opinion, they look so much nicer. Look, I'll give you the difference. That's not block and that's blocked. Like, it's just, I think it looks nicer, and that's essentially why I do all of that. And I think it works better that way. So it's just a lot more wood gathering, and I'll show you this sort of basic build for a base. It's all really basic. It's all your general basics for making all of this stuff up. But once you've got your foundations in, you sort of have got most of that general stuff down. But if you do want to perhaps go a step up, I like doing this. If I get some double doors and some double door frames, it can be quite nice. Chuck those in, and I am going to use double doors for the sake of this. And because it's a 2x2, 2 double door frames and 2 double doors will suit me. How many wooden walls? 2 more, so I'll craft those up. So you can see we're going to chuck a double door frame and a double door frame there, and then we can chuck a double door, and then once this is crafted, another double door. You can see where the ramps are there as well. You can just put some ramps on the front, and that's pretty nice on top of all of that. And you know, essentially we're making it will be 2 high rather than 1 high, just for the sake of it. And also, if you didn't know, the larger storage boxes don't really fit in a 1 high base, and that's why we're going to go for this 2 high solution, as it's sort of better. If we get a ramp, we'll make 2 of those for the front, and the rest can be walls, because walls are needed. If you, obviously, I know all of you out there can count walls, but sometimes it is a little bit tricky to count up your walls and you misjudge. But I think at this time, just make walls. If you make too many, place one over the top of another one and it will break the initial one, or you can obviously just demolish it. But that's called me being lazy, really. Oh, door open, please. You can always press your what is it, right click on your mouse, and then it will stop this build menu from coming up. I'm not sure what it is for console, probably like B or something. Right, so you can see we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more walls, and obviously 4 ceilings, which is just going to be more wood, and then on top of that it's going to be more thatch, which will be lovely, won't it? We've got wood from that log. It's wood more than anything when you're building structures, but you always want to keep an eye on the fact that you've got enough thatch and enough fiber, because you always can get caught up in it, and it can be like, oh, I've run out of thatch now, I've run out of fiber. If you just keep a top up of all of them across all of it, then that will definitely benefit you. But it will be mostly wood, and you'll be using that hatchet, and you might have to repair it up a few times, as well as, you know, there'll be times where your hatchet breaks because you've just been gathering so much wood. You saw my bow broke there when I was doing all of that stuff earlier. So it was 6, wasn't it? 6 more walls and 4 ceilings. So it's perfect. You should actually make some spikes there, but they're 10 hide a spike. They're pretty pricey, but they do add a lot of good base defense at this stage as well. Once you've got over like 200 health, I know this is 370 because insane rates, I'd say start pumping movement speed, and ideally you want to get up to 130 to avoid like everything pretty much, but 115, 120 is perfectly fine. You will definitely notice a difference when outrunning stuff in the early game with movement speed, so it's a good idea to put some levels into it, because it's going to benefit your escape from things like raptors. But the bowlers are there for a similar reason as well. Can the sun not blind me? Just check that they're facing the right way, because it is always a pain when your ceilings aren't facing all the same way. Right, there we go. And then you can see this is our basic box base. It's all really basic, to be honest, but it will definitely do us. And again, we made a bed earlier. We've defecated in this as well, which is lovely, but we're going to chuck our bed down in there, and that's just going to offer a spawn point, which is really useful, especially in the early game. I haven't died yet, but you very much could have, and you know, sometimes I do as well. I'm not all professional Ark player. I've done this many times, but sometimes I still mess up. It's good to layer some beds on top of beds as well, so if you can make more, that is good. I can't because I don't have enough thatch, but 1 will certainly suffice. So we're just going to add a few extra things to this base. Firstly, a mortar and pestle and some large storage boxes, and then that's the basic base done, really, apart from one thing, because we made that campfire all the way earlier. I'm just going to chuck it next to the bed. It's not going to burn your base down if you put campfire on it. I know it seems like it would, because, you know, you're putting fire in a base. You know, that'll be fine. And we're just going to put some meat in there. Again, for the mortar and pestle, which is going to come later, I don't know why I said again, because I haven't said this yet. You're going to want spoiled meat for narcotics as well as narco braze. If you split your whole stack of meat, then it will all spoil at the same time, and you can get loads of spoiled meat instead of just one at each time. Pretty useful tip. But either way, oh, there's some spoiled meat in there as well. We'll add it to the pile. Keep that stuff. Don't throw it away because it is very useful. And I'm going to put that cooked meat in my 5 slot and eat it. You only need 5 cooked meat if you're absolutely starving to go back up to full. But I'd recommend having about 3 or 4, because if you take some damage, then you can always regain a bit more health as you massively regenerate health while your hunger's going up. Once it reaches full, then you can't keep healing. So if you do need to heal yourself, it's a very good way of doing that. You can always keep an eye on just what you're totaling up for what you want as well. You can put blueprints, in fact, on your hotbar on top of that. The parasol saddle is good as well. I just glided over that. And if we come all the way down here, it's a bit of a scroll. Metal hatchet, smithy, forge is what you want to be unlocking next. Then there's a parachute. First stuff good as well, as long as stone. Pike, that's probably one of my favorite weapons, and the crossbow is good too. I'll leave the level unlocking there for this video, but we need the large storage box, and I'm gonna make just the 3 because I like 3. I'm not gonna make a parachute because they're very high expensive, and I don't really need one at the moment, but they can become reasonably great later on. Especially when I've got a few mods on. I've got the reusable mod and I've got reusable parachutes. That's pretty nice. For the mortar and pestle, we are going to need stone and hide. There we go. That's probably enough stone. No, it's not. I misjudged by about 10. And then, boom, there we go. That should be enough. There we go. And then there's our mortar and pestle done, which is nice. So we can put some storage in our base. Put a mortar and pestle in our base. And we've got some water as well, because we're obviously right on the sea, which is great. And then obviously we've got our lovely cooked steak in here. Going to be much better than the berries. I'm going to chuck the mortar and pestle down here. You can try and be reasonably organized with all of this stuff. It does help, but it won't hurt you if you don't. These storage boxes are all in together, but they compact nicely, apart from the fact that I can't access the middle one. So I am actually going to redo that. Check actually if your storage boxes do fit together well or not. Come on, let me pick up all of these, because you might want to change them like I did there. But I want to do them all in one line because then they're straight. It'll probably nag you as well, because it nags me if they're not straight. I absolutely hate it. Probably about there, right? That spacing is good enough for me. I can access all 3, and you can just use this either as a dump, which I like to do, or you could be nice and organize it all. But I'm just going to chuck all my berries in there, all my berry stuff, apart from I'm going to take the narco berries out, and you know, that's it really, actually, for all of that. And then let's say I want this middle one to be for all my wood and my thatch and my fiber. The rock arrow seeds can go, I don't need that. And then this end storage box can be for like metal, stone, flint, and because I have nowhere else to put it, hide. If you find things that aren't stacked as well, you can always stack them up on top of each other. Those rock arrow seeds are exactly where I don't want them to be. Just go over there, please. Thanks. Right, mortar and pestle, not the bed. If you ever wonder what that screen is, it's the bed. And no, you can't sleep in it at night. You have to deal with the night. This is not Minecraft. We chuck the narco berries in there. I should have the spoiled meat in somewhere. I think I dumped it in a place where I shouldn't have. Yeah, there we go. And I put the spoiled meat in there and some narco berries. You can make narcotics, which you can make trank arrows with, and I'll give you a little brief demonstration of that. Movement speed again. Trank. You can use that search bar. It definitely gets useful when you get into the higher levels. There's one narcotic and just some arrows. Narcotics also do give you a lot of XP if you're in the vicinity, which is great. So if we make some trank arrows, you've got to make sure you do this. If you are using trank arrows though, put them on your bow first and then get it on. They'll be slightly green compared to the normal arrows. You can always check that, and you can always see the trank arrow icon down there, and it will say as well, if If you want and you're just out and you don't want to go in your inventory, if you press H, not if you press H actually, I thought it did that. No, just scrap that. But you can see all of your stats exactly if you do press H. And you can see the time, the day that you're on, where you are, the temperature, your name, your level, etc. And whatever ordering groups. But what I was going to say is you could pull that up with H, but you can't. So scrap that point. But there is still some useful stuff. So all the narcotics are done in there, and you can see it's just one of those and an arrow. Pretty basic recipe, but useful for taming stuff, which if I do a part 2, because if you want me to do a part 2, then I will do a part 2. But it's going to be for taming creatures. It's way easier than using a club or what's the thing called, a slingshot. But that is where I'll leave this video. This is what you should be doing in your approximate first half an hour of Ark, or 20 minutes of Ark, whatever I decide to call this video. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something from it. I'm gonna waste a trank arrow and shoot it into the sun for the outro, and that's it for today. Bye. And give it up for our patrons, Ekaterina Puchkova and Karina Thorne, Dominic Maciejewski, sorry about that name, and everyone else that's on this list. All the people I've mentioned are paid members, and if you feel like that's something you want a shout out at the end of the video, go join the Patreon or become a paid YouTube member.